एक बार पुनः स्वागत है आप सभी का। और बंटी जी एसपी सर ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाए, उनका फोन आ गया था। ही हैज सम अर्जेंट वर्क।
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक है।
सो विद योर परमिशन शुड आई मूव अहेड?
हाँ, आप डिस्प्ले कर दीजिए। अब हम अपने आप को वी कैन जस्ट रिमाइंड आवर सेल्स कि हम लोग जो हाँ विनय पिटक का चूल वग है, जो खंदक है, जो उसका एक तरीके से खंदक वो है जिसमें जो मिसलेनियस चीजें आती हैं वो आती हैं। तो उसको हम स्टडी कर रहे हैं और वी आर ऑन द सेक्शन ऑन स्किज्म। मतलब जो किसी भी ग्रुप में जब किसी तरह का क्रैक पड़ जाता है या डिवीजन हो जाता है, सो दैट्स व्हाट वी आर लुकिंग एट। एंड इन दिस सेक्शन सो फार हमने देखा किस तरह से जो भगवान बुद्ध हैं उनके रिश्तेदार कई सारे दे आर ऑर्डेनिंग, एंड सो देर आर लार्ज नंबर ऑफ कजिन्स एंड सो फोर्थ, एंड देर वर सम वेरी यूजफुल धर्मा पॉइंट्स देयर। और फिर पिछली बार वी सॉ द 5 kinds of teachers, and so there was something there as well, and we'll now continue and see how. And there was also an introduction to Devdutt already, कि किस तरह से there was the emergence of ambition, है ना? उनमें ये भाव जागा कि मैं मुझे संघ की लीडरशिप मिले, एंड he begins to befriend अजात शत्रु and so on. सो वी कैन गो फॉरवर्ड निखिल, और हम केवल ट्रांसलेशन पढ़ेंगे क्योंकि बहुत लंबा चैप्टर है ये। तो आप इनवाइट भी कर सकते हैं किसी को पढ़ने के लिए, और फिर बीच बीच में हम रुक के देख सकते हैं अगर किसी को कुछ कहना है, कुछ बातचीत करनी है, तो वी कैन डू दैट।
जी बंटी जी। सो आई विल डिस्प्ले इट। कोई है जो दोज एनीवन हु वांट टू रीड इट आउट?
निखिल जी, मैं रीड कर सकता हूँ,
हाँ
बट
श्योर।
लॉन्ग। डू यू वांट टू ऑल्टरनेट?
नहीं ठीक है ठीक है, आप कर दीजिए, मैं शेयर करता हूँ। जस्ट अ मिनट। 2.5.1
Yeah. When the Buddha had stayed at Kosambi for as long as he liked, he set out wandering towards Rajgaha. When he eventually arrived, he stayed in the bamboo grove in the squirrel sanctuary. Then a number of monks went to the Buddha, bowed, sat down, and said, Sir, Prince Ajatasattu attends on Devdatta morning and can you scroll? Morning and evening, with 500 carriages and a meal offering of 500 dishes of food. Monks, don't envy Devdatta his material support, honor, and praise. So long as Prince Ajatasattu treats him like this, Devdatta can be expected to decline in good qualities. Just as a fierce dog would get even fiercer if you break a gallbladder on its nose, so too, so long as Prince Ajatasattu treats him like this, Devdatta can be expected to decline in good qualities. Just as a plantain banana tree produces fruit to its own destruction and ruin, so too will Devdatta's material support, honor, and praise cause his own destruction and ruin. Just as a bamboo produces fruit to its own destruction and ruin, so too will Devdatta's material support, honor, and praise cause his own destruction and ruin. Just as a nala reed produces fruit to its own destruction and ruin, so too will Devdatta's material support, honor, and praise cause his own destruction and ruin. Just as a mule becomes pregnant to its own destruction and ruin, so too will Devdatta's material support, honor, and praise cause his own destruction and ruin. The fruits destroys the plantain and the bamboo and the reed. Honor destroys the bad person as the fetus destroys the mule. The first
You can just stop briefly. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you can read the last line. Sorry.
The first section for recitation is finished.
अंते जी इसमें दो बातें पूछनी थी आपसे। एक तो मैंने ये जो एग्जांपल है पहली बार सुना है कि मैंने गॉल ब्लैडर इज hit on the nose of the dog, so he becomes very ferocious. एक वो सिमिली थी और एक ये सिमिली जो है ये honor destroys the bad person.
हाँ राजेंद्र जी, I was myself trying to figure out. मेरे ख्याल से what has happened is that there are certain प्राकृतिक फिनोमिना हैं। कुछ से हम परिचित होंगे, कुछ से हम नहीं होंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये बैम्बू वाला है तो मुझे पता है इट हैपन्स लाइक दिस, दैट व्हेन इट फ्रूट्स दैट मीन्स नाउ द दैट प्लांट विल डाई आफ्टर दैट। तो इस तरह से मेरे ख्याल से देर आर सेवरल एग्जाम्पल्स दैट आर गिवन। द ऑपरेटिव पार्ट आई थिंक आर द लास्ट 4 लाइन्स, है ना? द फ्रूट
Honor destroys the bad person.
हाँ, तो ठीक बात है ना। बैड पर्सन वो किसको कह रहे हैं? मैं उसका पाली देख रहा हूँ। मेरी समझ ये है कि जिसका माइंड डेवलप नहीं है ना?
Oh.
Someone who is prone to taking any sort of gain personally.
Right,
भाई
right.
मुझे सम्मान मिल रहा है तो मैं स्पेशल हूँ, आई डिजर्व दिस, आई डिजर्व दैट वगैरह। तो उससे फिर मेरी हानि होगी ना। और वही हम देखेंगे आगे चल के, उसको ये लगेगा कि भाई मेरे को संघ का नायक बनना चाहिए। सो वी कैन सी हाउ इवन हमारे अपने जीवन में इस तरह से होता ही है ना, दैट इफ वी फॉर एग्जाम्पल गेट एडमिशन इन अ गुड आई डोंट नो कॉलेज, और इफ वी happen to get a good job, or if we come to gain हमें कोई लाभ होता है, चाहे मटेरियल हो चाहे सत्कार का हो, तो हमारा द टेंडेंसी के सेंस ऑफ सेल्फ बढ़ जाए, वो तो होती है। सो दैट्स आई थिंक इन दिस सेक्शन दैट्स द इम्पोर्टेंट lesson for us to draw, and to be therefore very careful about how love and satkar affect me.
ठीक है, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mante ji. May I continue?
हाँ, अब थोड़ा सा ना टेक्निकल आएगा पोर्शन, सो इट्स क्वाइट गुड टू आल्सो अंडरस्टैंड दैट। एंड आई थिंक जनरली हम देख रहे हैं कि जब हम ये सब पढ़ रहे हैं, कुछ चीज़ें तो खैर हमारे लिए धार्मिक इंटरेस्ट की हैं, कुछ चीज़ें ऐसे भी हैं जैसे भगवान बुद्ध धीरे धीरे आप देख रहे हैं कि संघ में किस तरह से विभिन्न प्रोसीजर्स होंगे, एक्शंस कैसे लिए जाएंगे, वो भी सब डिस्क्राइब किया जाता है। सो इट्स एक्चुअली वेरी आई फाइंड इट वेरी हेल्पफुल टू सी कि भाई किसी भी ग्रुप फंक्शनिंग में वी कैन यूज मेनी ऑफ दीज प्रिंसिपल्स। सो द नेक्स्ट सेक्शन इज slightly technical.
Okay. The legal procedure of announcement. Soon afterwards, the Buddha was seated, giving a teaching surrounded by a large gathering of people, including the king. Devdatta then got up from his seat, arranged his upper robe over one shoulder, raised his joint palms, and said, "Sir, you are now old and close to the end of life. You should live free from bother and enjoy the happiness of meditation. Hand the Sangha of monks over to me. Let me lead the Sangha." "Let it be, Devdatta. Don't think of leading the Sangha of monks." A second time, Devdatta said the same thing and got the same reply. He then said it a third time, and the Buddha replied, "I won't even hand the Sangha over to Sariputta and Moggallana. So why then to you, a wretched devourer of junk?" Devdatta thought, "The Buddha disparages me in front of a gathering that includes the king as a devourer of junk," while praising Sariputta and Moggallana. And he bowed down in anger, circumambulated the Buddha with his right side towards him, and left. This was the first time Devdatta had ill will towards the Buddha. Soon afterwards, the Buddha addressed the monks. "Well then, the Sangha should do a legal procedure for the purpose of making an announcement about Devdatta in Rajgaha like this. Devdatta's character has changed. Whatever Devdatta now does by body or speech has nothing to do with the Buddha, the teaching, or the Sangha, but only with Devdatta. And it should be done in this way. A competent and capable monk should inform the Sangha. Please, venerables, I ask the Sangha to listen. If the Sangha is ready, it should do a legal procedure for the purpose of making an announcement about Devdatta in Rajgaha like this. Devdatta's character has changed. Whatever Devdatta now does by body or speech has nothing to do with the Buddha, the teaching, or the Sangha, but only with Devdatta. This is the motion. Please, venerables, I ask the Sangha to listen. The Sangha does a legal procedure for the purpose of making an announcement about Devdatta in Rajgaha like this. Devdatta's character has changed. Whatever Devdatta now does by body or speech has nothing to do with the Buddha, the teaching, or the Sangha, but only with Devdatta. Any monk who approves of doing such a legal procedure should remain silent. Any monk who doesn't approve should speak up. The Sangha has done
You
a
can
legal
skip that. It's just a word repetition. It's okay.
repetition, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, okay. The
Buddha then.
Sangha approves and is therefore silent. I remember it thus. The Buddha then addressed Sariputta. Well then, Sariputta, make that announcement about Devdatta in Rajgaha. In the past, sir, I have praised Devdatta in Rajgaha, saying Godhiputta is powerful and mighty. How then can I now make this announcement about him? Didn't you praise him truthfully when you said that? I did. In the same way, you should make this announcement truthfully. Yes, sir. The Buddha then addressed the monks. Well, then, the Sangha should appoint Sariputta to make the announcement about Devdatta in Rajgaha, and he should be appointed like this. First, Sariputta should be asked, and then a competent and capable monk should inform the Sangha.
ये इसको skip कर सकते हो तुम ये फिर से वही repeat होगा.
Yeah, please, venerables, dot, 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 venerable Devdatta does dot, 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 see the teaching or the Sangha, but only with Devdatta. This is the motion. Please, venerables, dot, 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 but only with Devdatta. Any monk who approves of appointing Venerable Sariputta in this way should remain silent. Any monk who doesn't approve should speak up. The Sangha has appointed Venerable Sariputta to make an announcement about Devdatta in Rajgaha like this. Devdatta's character has changed, dot, 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 but only with Devdatta. The Sangha approves and is therefore silent. I'll remember it thus. When he had been appointed, Sariputta entered Rajgaha accompanied by a number of monks. He then made that announcement about Devdatta. Devdatta's character has changed, dot, 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 nothing to do with the teaching or the Sangha, but only with Devdatta. The foolish people there, those with little faith and confidence, said, these Shakyan monastics are envious of Devdatta's material support and order. But the wise ones, those with faith and confidence, said, this must be a serious matter, seeing as the Buddha had an announcement made about Devdatta in Rajgaha.
Okay, you can stop.
So here we can see that even Lord Buddha in his lifetime did get angry and did say what he had to say. So,
It does not say anywhere that the Buddha got angry, right?
I mean, you can't say those words unless until you are angry.
Not necessarily.
You need to have a different mindset when you scold somebody. You can't scold somebody, तुम बहुत बुरा कर रहे हो. ऐसा, I don't know. I mean, physically it is, in a human being interaction, it is not possible to say anything to anybody unless and until there is some sort of anger in you about whatever he has done or is not as per what you think is right.
I don't think so. I think we have had this discussion pehle bhi. Matlab, you could do it out of concern also.
That's what I'm saying. So point is that we can get angry at times and say what we have to say. I'm just trying to relate it in the present context of our own self.
I think
Because the words used are very harsh when he scolds him.
The words might be harsh, but I think matlab, one can be careful in thinking that since the Buddha got angry, and we don't know if the Buddha got angry, I can also get angry.
Please go back to those words, which are written there.
हाँ, आई थिंक आपने थोड़ा सा मिस इंटरप्रेट कर लिया। आई थिंक उसमें लिखा हुआ था देवदत्ता गॉट एंग्री।
नहीं नहीं, जब उनको गुस्सा आया ना,
हाँ
जब तीसरी बार बोला देवदत्त ने, तो तीसरी बार बोलने के बाद जो शब्द बुद्ध ने कहे,
yeah, a second time Devdatta said the same thing and got the same result.
so when then to you, a wretched devourer of junk, now something like this is very, very harsh. It is not, these are not normal words.
Yes, it can be harsh, or it can also be
A wretched
can
devourer.
be harsh, but can be out of not necessarily out of anger also.
बहुत बहुत कठोर शब्द है.
हाँ, कठोर शब्द है, but I don't.
And coming from the Lord himself.
Yeah.
So, what I am trying to say is that yes, the Lord also got annoyed third time because 2 times he didn't say anything. The third time he used this word. So this, yeah. After all, born as a human being, and then things can come. Yeah. Thank you. This is all what I wanted to say.
तो यदि और कोई ऑन कमेंट हो तो अभी बताएं, नहीं तो फिर आगे बढ़ते, या कुछ पूछना है। कोई और वॉलंटियर करना चाहेंगे साथ में, सक्षम के साथ पढ़ने के लिए?
महापंडित जी तो आए नहीं शायद.
हाँ, वो अभी मे बी he got disconnected. He will join it. He is,
Okay.
somewhere occupied with his father as well. ठीक है, सक्षम आप ही पढ़ दीजिए।
Okay. The account of Prince Ajatasattu. Soon afterwards, Devdatta went to the Prince Ajatasattu and said, in the past, Prince, people were long lived, but now they're short lived. It's possible that you might die while still a prince. So then, kill your father and become the king, and I'll kill the Buddha and take his place. Ajatasattu thought, Venerable Devdatta is powerful and mighty. He would know. He then bound a dagger to his thigh, and while fearful and agitated, he hastily entered the royal compound in the middle of the day. The officials there saw Ajatasattu's strange behavior and seized him. When they examined him, they found the dagger tied to his thigh. They asked him what he was up to. I wish to kill my father. Has anyone encouraged you? Venerable Devdatta. Some officials said the prince should be executed together with the Devdatta and all the monks. Others said the monks shouldn't be executed, they have done anything wrong. The prince should be executed together with Devdatta. Still others said neither the prince nor Devdatta nor the monks should be executed. The king should be informed and we should do as he says. They took Ajatasattu with them and went to King Senia Bimbisar of Magad to inform him of what had happened. The king said, what do you make of all this? What do you all make of this? They told him their views. The king then said, what's this got to do with the Buddha, the teaching, and the Sangha? Didn't the Buddha have an announcement made in Rajgaha as a warning? Devdatta's character has changed. Whatever Devdatta now does by body or speech has nothing to do with the Buddha, the teaching, or the Sangha, but only with Devdatta. He then fired those officials who had suggested to execute the prince Devdatta and the Sangha. He demoted those who had suggested to execute the prince and Devdatta, and he promoted those who had suggested to act according to the king's orders. And he said to Ajatasattu, "Why do you want to kill me? I want to rule, sir. If you want to rule, the kingdom is yours." And he handed the rulership over to the prince.
यदि उपस्थित लोगों में से ये वाले सेक्शन में कुछ बोलना चाहे।
So what do you mean by fired here? Means
Fired मतलब I assume like job से
निकाल निकाल दिया
job.
ना,
Yeah.
जब
Okay.
निकाल देते हैं नौकरी से तो उसको बोलते हैं यू आर फायर्ड।
नौकरी से निकाल दिया, मिनिस्टरशिप से निकाल दिया, उनके काउंसिल से निकाल दिया।
Mhm.
Okay, shall we continue? If no questions.
Yeah, I just have an observation that किंग बिम्बिसारा का जो वो है रिस्पॉन्स बहुत ही अच्छा है कि आपको किंगडम चाहिए, then okay you can take it. And one more thing, nothing to do with this. I mean, अगर आपने ऊपर पढ़ा तो मुझे वो भी अच्छा लगा कि देवदत्ता got angry, but still he, circumambulated Buddha and paid the pranams. So it reminded me the Ramayana serial earlier I used to watch. That also they will do like this only. They are angry, then still they will do the rituals, and then they will go away. So just to mention that.
This
Yeah.
is a very, very good, whatever you have highlighted is a very good thing, because since our young days, we have been doing what we have been doing, going to the temples, going around the, shivling and offering, and mind is not there, body is there, and mind is not pure. And so many things used to happen in this young age. बिल्कुल सही बात है कि वो एक रिचुअल की तरह जब कोई चीज हो जाती है तो उसका कोई इफेक्ट नहीं है। इट हैज नो बियरिंग ऑन
Correct.
व्हाटएवर यू हैव लर्नड इन योर लाइफ।
जी जी ठीक है, मैं आगे इसको स्क्रॉल करता हूँ। जी सर।
Descending of assassins. Soon afterwards, Devdatta went to Ajatasattu and said, "Great king, please order your men to kill the ascetic Gautama." And the king told his men, "Do as Venerable Devdatta says." Devdatta then told one man, "Go to such and such a place where the ascetic Gautama is saying, kill him and return via that path." On that path, he stationed two men saying, "Kill the man who comes along this path and return via that path." On that path, he stationed four men saying, "Kill two men who come along this path and return via that path." On that path, he stationed eight men saying, "Kill four men who come along this path and return via that path." On that path, he stationed 16 men saying, "Kill the eight men who come along this path and then return." Soon afterwards, that one man armed himself with a bow and arrows, as well as a sword and shield, and went to the Buddha. As he got close, he became fearful and agitated, standing rigidly. The Buddha saw him and said, "Come, don't be afraid." He then placed his sword and shield to one side, put down his bow and arrows, and went up to the Buddha. He bowed down with his head at the Buddha's feet and said, "Sir, I've made a mistake. I've been foolish, confused, and unskillful in coming here with a malicious mind intent on murder. Please forgive me so that I may restrain myself in the future." "You have certainly made a mistake. You've been foolish, confused, and unskillful. But since you acknowledge your mistake and make proper amends, I forgive you. For this is called growth in the training of the noble ones." acknowledging a mistake, making proper amends, and undertaking restraint for the future. The Buddha then gave him a progressive talk on generosity, morality, and heaven, on the downside, degradation, and defilement of worldly pleasures, and he revealed the benefits of renunciation. When the Buddha knew that his mind was ready, supple, without hindrances, joy, and confident, he revealed the teaching unique to the Buddhas, suffering, its origin, its end, and the path. Nikhil ji, can you scroll? Nikhil ji, can you scroll?
हाँ जी, मैंने कर दिया है। आपको दिख रहा है? जस्ट एज इट इज।
Yeah, अभी आया. And just as a clean and stainless cloth absorbs dye properly, so too, while he was sitting right there, he experienced the stainless vision of the truth. Anything that has a beginning has an end. He had seen the truth, had reached, understood, and penetrated it. He had gone beyond doubt and uncertainty. He had attained to confidence and had become independent of others in the teacher's instruction. And he said to the Buddha, "Wonderful, sir, wonderful. Just as one might set upright what has been overturned, or, or reveal what was hidden, or show the way to one who was lost, or bring a lamp into the darkness so that one with eyes might see what's there. Just so has the Buddha made the teaching clear in many ways. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the teaching, and the Sangha of monks. Please accept me as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life." The Buddha then said to him, "Don't go back along this path and go along that one," and sent him down a different path. The two men thought, why is it taking that one man so long to arrive? As they were walking along that path in the opposite direction, they saw the Buddha seated at the foot of a tree. They approached him, bowed, and sat down. The Buddha gave them progressive talk, and they had become independent of others in the teacher's instruction. And they said to the Buddha, "Wonderful sir, please accept us as lay followers who have gone for refuge for life." The Buddha then said to them, "Don't go back along this path, go along that one." And he sent them down a different path. The 4 men, 8 men, and 16 men thought, why is it taking those 8 men so long to arrive? As they were walking along that path in the opposite direction, they saw the Buddha seated at the foot of a tree. They approached him, bowed, and sat down. The Buddha gave them a progressive talk, and they had become independent of others in the teacher's instruction. And they said to the Buddha, "Wonderful sir, please accept us as lay followers who had gone for refuge for life." Soon afterwards, that one man went to Devdatta and said, "I wasn't able to kill him, sir. He's powerful and mighty, that Buddha." "Never mind, there's no need for you to kill the ascetic Gautama. I'll do it myself." I have an interesting observation with respect to the how things are phrased. So whoever came along and met the Buddha said literally it's written, "Don't go along back along this path, go along this path." So the Buddha sort of redirected their path, and because एक का path redirect हो रहा है उसकी वजह से दो पाथ रीडायरेक्ट हो रहा है. सो अगर वो एक वापस चल जाता तो बाकी दो वुड आल्सो हैव हैड नेगेटिव कर्मा, और वो वापस जाते फिर चारों ने मारते फिर आठों ने मारते एंड सो ऑन. बट एक का पाथ रीडायरेक्ट हो रहा है, देन दो का हो रहा है साथ में, देन चार का हो रहा है. तो इट्स क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग हाउ इट आई मीन आई फील लाइक इसका मैप काफी मतलब दिस थोड़ा एब्स्ट्रैक्ट भी बन सकता है इसका, कि सिर्फ मारने का नहीं, हम और सटल वेज में भी देख सकते हैं इसको, कि हाउ if one for example we choose a different path in life as opposed to what we normally would after hearing the teaching, how that can affect others in a sort of chain reaction way.
किसी को और भी ऑब्जर्वेशन है कि जो भी उन्होंने पढ़ा? Yes, I agree with Saksham. इनफैक्ट उसको मैं ऐसे भी देखा कि बुद्धा वाज नॉट समवन हु इज वेरी simple person. He was supposed to be a चक्रवर्ती himself, so he knew that the plot would be like this कि ये मुझे मारेगा, वापस इसको भी मारा जाएगा. And he was, that much intelligent, so he just saved him, and then later other people were also saved. So that's what I learned, that you know, he was not someone who was simple saint. He was Buddha. He knew, pros and cons of many things. So yeah, your observation was, I was thinking in that lines.
Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, if there is no more observations or anything comment, then we can further move. Ji.
Causing the Buddha to bleed. Soon afterwards, the Buddha was doing walking meditation in the shade of the vulture peak. Devdatta climbed the peak and threw down a large stone, thinking, with this I'll kill the ascetic Gautama. But the stone got stuck in the junction of two outcrops. A chip flew off, striking the Buddha's foot and causing him to bleed. The Buddha looked up and said to Devdatta, foolish man, you've made much demerit. With a malicious mind intent on murder, you've made the Buddha bleed. Soon afterwards, the Buddha addressed the monks. With a malicious mind intent on murder, Devdatta has made the Buddha bleed. This is his first action with consequences in his very next life. When the monks heard that Devdatta was trying to murder the Buddha, they walked back and forth on all sides of the Buddha's dwelling, trying to protect him by reciting loudly. The Buddha heard that loud sound of recitation. He asked Ananda what it was, and Ananda told him. The Buddha said, well then, Anand, tell those monks in my name that the teacher calls them. Saying, yes, sir, he did just that. The monks consented. They went to the Buddha, bowed, and sat down. The Buddha said to them, it's impossible, monks, for anyone to kill me through an act of violence. The Buddha won't attain final extinguishment through an act of violence. Monks, there are five kinds of teachers in the world. One kind of teacher is impure in behavior while claiming to be pure. His disciples know about this but think it would be unpleasant for him if we inform the householders, and it's because of him that we are honored with gifts of robe cloth, alms food, dwelling, and medicinal supplies. How then can we inform them? He'll be known through his own actions. The disciples conceal the impure behavior of such a teacher, and the teacher expects them to do so. तो यहाँ पे काफी रिपीटेशन है बीच में, so I'll skip that part. Another kind of teacher is impure in livelihood, gives impure teachings, gives impure, okay, it's already skipped. Gives impure explanations, has impure knowledge and vision while they're claiming they're pure. His disciples know about this, but think it would be unpleasant for him if we inform the householders. And it's because of him that we're honored with gifts of robe cloth, alms food, dwellings, and medicinal supplies. How then can we inform them? He'll be known through his own actions. The disciples conceal the impure knowledge and vision of such a teacher, and the teacher expects them to do so. But in my case, I claim my behavior is pure because it is. My disciples don't conceal my behavior, and I don't expect them to do so. I claim my livelihood is pure. I claim my teachings are pure. I claim my explanations are pure. I claim my knowledge and vision are pure because they are. My disciples don't conceal my knowledge and vision, and I don't expect them to do so. It's impossible for anyone to kill me through an act of violence. The Buddha won't attain final extinguishment through an act of violence. Go to your dwellings, monks. I don't need any protection.
So, any observation? Any you want to make through this? I just noticed two things. That ek to when the bleeding had, then Buddha said, your mind had the intention, malicious intention. So just to recall कि intention के बिना अगर भूल से पत्थर लग जाए और bleeding हो जाए तो problem नहीं है. But if your Devdatta was intent to kill, so just reminded me कि intent is important, not the कि bleeding हो रही है. And दूसरा, I admire Buddha's confidence that I don't need any protection. He was so pure. I remember I can see today's politicians, they go by Z plus security, and Buddha is saying, I don't need any protection. That's the power of marriage. Just to make two observations.
मेरा एक हम्बल सबमिशन है एंड जब हम बिकॉज हम जानते हैं कि हम बुद्ध कहते हैं और बुद्ध ही है वो, तो है क्या कि अंग्रेजी में जब लिखा जाता है ना, ए जब आखिर में करते हैं, क्योंकि हम ध है वो, ध यानी कोई भी शब्द है हमारी हिंदी का ना, तो उसको जब बोलने में हम क ध ख घ ऐसे पढ़ते हैं, तो इसलिए वो बुद्धा ना कह के उसको बुद्ध कहा जाए। अंग्रेजी में, हिंदी में, चाहे किसी भी शब्द में हम पढ़ें भाषा में, तो बुद्ध इज बुद्ध, बुद्ध। सो हम ये जो इनएडवर्टेंटली हम बुद्ध को बुद्धा कह देते हैं क्योंकि उसमें ए लिखा हुआ है, बट दैट ए इज बेसिकली सिग्निफाइंग दैट इट इज DHA, ध, बुद्ध, so not Buddha. That's why we request that we need to correct it, but that is what it is.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
तो यदि फोरम में कोई और प्रश्न हो तो पूछे, नहीं तो हम आगे इसको पढ़ेंगे. What happens? जी.
The letting loose of Nalagiri. At that time in Rajagaha, there was a fierce and man-killing elephant called Nalagiri. Just then, Devdatta entered Rajagaha, went to the elephant stables, and said to the elephant keepers, "We who are relatives of the king are capable of having people promoted and giving them a raise. So then, when the ascetic Gautama comes walking along the street, raise the elephant Nalagiri down it. Release the elephant Nalagiri down it." Yes, sir. Then one morning, the Buddha robed up, took his bowl and robe, and entered Rajagaha for alms together with a number of monks. And the Buddha walked down that very street. When the elephant keepers saw the Buddha coming, they released Nalgiri down the same street. Nalgiri saw the Buddha coming. He blew his trunk, and with ears and tail bristling, he charged towards the Buddha. When the monks saw Nalagiri coming, they said to the Buddha, "This elephant coming down the street is the fierce man-killer Nalagiri. Please retreat, Venerable Sir. Come, don't be afraid. It's impossible for anyone to kill the Buddha through an act of violence. The Buddha won't attain final extinguishment through an act of violence." A second time and a third time, those monks said the same thing to the Buddha, each time getting the same reply. On that occasion, people had ascended their stilt houses and even their roofs. The foolish people with little faith and confidence said, "The elephant will hurt the handsome, great ascetic." But the wise people with faith and confidence said, "Soon the great man and the great elephant will meet in battle." The Buddha then pervaded Nalagiri with the mind of love. Feeling it, Nalagiri lowered his trunk and went up to the Buddha and stood in front of him. While stroking Nalagiri on the forehead with his right hand, the Buddha spoke these verses: "Do not, elephant, attack a great man. Painful it is to attack a great man. For a killer of a great man, the next birth is not good. Don't be intoxicated or heedless. for the heedless are not happily reborn. Only do those things that take you to a good destination. Nalgiri sucked the dust from the Buddha's feet with his trunk scattered and scattered it overhead. He then walked backward while looking at the Buddha and returned to his stall in the elephant stables. That is how tame Nalagiri had become. On that occasion, people chanted this verse. Some are tamed with sticks, some are tamed with goads and whips. Without stick or sword, the great sage tamed the elephant. And people complained and criticized Devdatta. How evil he is, this Devdatta, how indiscriminate he is, in that he tries to kill the ascetic Gautama, so powerful and mighty. Devdatta's material support and honor declined, whereas those of the Buddha increased.
ओके, थैंक यू। सो ये नालागिरी इधर आ रहा है जो हम जयमंगल अट्ठगाथा में पढ़ते थे, उसको अभी मैं थोड़ा डिटेल में समझ पाया। थैंक यू।
Does anybody else want to read? निखिल जी आपको पढ़ना है क्या?
हाँ, मैं पढ़ूंगा, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। कोई और यदि प्रश्न अगर है या कोई और आप लोग शेयर करना चाहें इतना पढ़ने के बाद तो भी बता सकते हैं। ओके, मैं अगला आगे पढ़ता हूँ। 2.6 द अकाउंट ऑफ द रिक्वेस्ट फॉर द 5 पॉइंट्स। Because of his loss of material support and honor, Devadatta and his followers had to ask families repeatedly to get invited to meals. People complained and criticized them. How can the Shakyan monastics repeatedly ask families to get invited to meals? Who doesn't like nice food? Who doesn't prefer tasty food? The monks heard the complaints of those people, and the monks of few desire complained and criticized those monks. How can Devdatta and his followers repeatedly ask families to get invited to meals? They told the Buddha. Soon afterwards, he had the Sangha gathered and questioned Devdatta. Is it true, Devdatta, that you do this? It's true, sir. After rebuking him, the Buddha gave a teaching and addressed the monks. Well then, for monks eating among families, I lay down a rule against eating in groups of more than three, for these three reasons: for the restraint of bad people, for the ease of good monks, stopping those with bad desire from creating a faction and then a schism in the Sangha, and out of compassion for families. Anyone eating in a group is to be dealt with according to the rule. Soon afterwards, Devdatta went to Kokalik, काटोमद काट कटा मोदक तिस्सक तिस्सक कटा मोदक तिस्सक खंदा देवियापुत्र and Samuddadatta. He said to them, let's cause a schism in the Sangha of the ascetic Gautam. Let's break its authority. Kokalik said to the Devdatta, the ascetic Gautam is powerful and mighty. How can we achieve this? Well, let's go to the ascetic Gautam and request 5 things. In many ways, sir, you praise fewness of wishes, contentment, self-effacement, ascetic practices, being inspiring, the reduction in things, and being energetic. And there are 5 things that lead to just that. Number one, it would be good, sir, if the monks stayed in wilderness for life, and whoever stayed near an inhabited area would commit an offense. Two, if they ate alms food for life, and whoever accepted an invitational meals would commit an offense. Three, if they wore rag robes for life, and whoever accepted robe cloth from a householder would commit an offense. 4. If they lived at the foot of a tree for life and whoever took shelter would commit an offense. 5. If they didn't eat fish or meat for life and whoever did would commit an offense. The ascetic Gautam won't allow this. We will then be able to win people over with these 5 points. Kokalik said, it might be possible to cause a schism in the Sangha with these 5 points, for people have confidence in austerity. Devdatta and his followers then went to the Buddha, bowed, sat down, and Devdatta made his request. The Buddha replied, no, Devdatta, those who wish may stay in the wilderness, and those who wish may live near inhabited areas. Those who wish may eat only alms food, and those who wish may accept invitations. Those who wish may wear rag robes, and those who wish may accept robe cloth from householders. I have allowed the foot of a tree as resting place for 8 months of the year, as well as fish and meat that are pure in three respects. One hasn't seen, heard, or suspected that the animal was specifically killed to feed a monastic. Devadatta thought, the Buddha doesn't allow the 5 points. Glad and elated, he got up from his seat, bowed down, circumambulated the Buddha with his right side towards him, and left with his followers. Devdatta then entered Rajgah and won people over with the 5 points, saying the ascetic Gautam doesn't agree to them, but we practice in accordance with them. The foolish people with little faith and confidence said, these Shakyan monastics are practicing asceticism and living with the aim of self-effacement. But the ascetic Gautam is extravagant and has chosen a life of indulgence. But the wise people who had faith and confidence complained and criticized Devadatta. How can Devadatta pursue schism in the Sangha of the Buddha? How can he break its authority? The monk heard the criticism of those people, and the monks of true desires complained and criticized him in the same way. They then told the Buddha. Soon afterwards, he had the Sangha gathered and questioned Devdatta. Is it true, Devdatta, that you are doing this? It's true, sir. Let it be, Devdatta. Don't cause a schism in the Sangha. Schism in the Sangha is a serious matter. Whoever causes a schism in a united Sangha does a bad act with effect for an eon. He is boiled in hell for an eon. But whoever unites a divided Sangha generates the supreme merit. He rejoices in heaven for an eon. So let it be, Devdatta. Don't cause a schism in the Sangha. It's a serious matter. Soon afterwards, Venerable Anand robed up in the morning, took his bowl and robe, and entered Rajgaha for alms. When Devdatta saw him, he went up to him and said, from today on, Ananda, I'll do the observance day ceremony and the legal procedures of the Sangha separate from the Buddha and the Sangha of monks. When Ananda had completed his alms round, eaten his meal, and returned, he went to the Buddha, bowed, sat down, and told him what had happened, adding, from today, Sir Devdatta has caused a schism in the Sangha. Understanding the significance of this on that occasion, the Buddha uttered a heartfelt exclamation. For the good, doing good is easy. For the bad, doing good is hard. For the bad, doing evil is easy. For the noble ones, doing evil is hard. The second section for recitation is finished. अभी इतना हमने पढ़ लिया. सेक्शन 3.1 में भी we can start from next सेशन. अगर इसमें कोई प्रश्न आपके मन में जागे हो तो बताइए, अन्यथा हम एक परिता पाठ करेंगे, मेता का अभ्यास करेंगे.
सर हम कौन सी किताब से पढ़ रहे हैं? यू हैव काइंडली टेल मी.
पार्डन?
ये कौन सा है, मतलब दीघ निकाय या
ये महाखंडक
हाँ,
हाँ, ये
क्या बोलते हैं?
आपको इसको महाखंडक में चुल्ल खंडक है उसका सेक्शन, चुल्ल वग्गा है ना महाखंडक के अंदर। आपको अगर चाहिए होगा तो आप मुझे मैं आपको वो कर देता हूँ उसको, व्हाट्सएप कर
पीडीएफ अगर
दूंगा।
आप फॉरवर्ड कर दें मतलब।
हाँ हाँ, मैं आपको भेज
थैंक
दूंगा जी। तो हम मित्रता का अभ्यास करते हैं, सबके लिए और अपने लिए कल्याण की भावना, सार्वभौमिक कल्याण का विवेचन। हन्धोमयं मित्ताफरणं करोमस्य, आए हम मैत्री भावना को सभी ओर व्याप्त करें। अहं सुखितो होमि, निर्दुःखो होमि, अवेरो होमि, अव्यापज्यो होमि, अनीघो होमि, सुखी अत्तानं परिहरामि। मैं सुखी हूँ, दुख से मुक्त हूँ, वैर से मुक्त हूँ, द्वेष से मुक्त हूँ, चिंता से मुक्त हूँ। मैं सुखपूर्वक अपना संरक्षण कर सकूँ। सभ्ये सत्ता सुखिता होन्तु, सभ्ये सत्ता अवेरा होन्तु, सभ्ये सत्ता अव्यापज्या होन्तु, सभ्ये सत्ता अनीहा होन्तु, सभ्ये सत्ता सुखियतानं परिहरन्तु। सभी प्राणी सुखी हों, सभी प्राणी वैर से मुक्त हों, सभी प्राणी द्वेष से मुक्त हों, सभी प्राणी चिंता से मुक्त हों, सभी प्राणी सुखपूर्वक अपना संरक्षण कर सके। सभ्ये सत्ता सब दुखा पमुच्यन्तु, सभ्ये सत्ता लब्ध संपत्ति तो मां विगच्छन्तु। सभी प्राणी सभी दुखों से मुक्त हों, सभी प्राणियों की संपत्ति उनसे दूर ना हो। सभ्ये सत्ता कम्मस्ता कम्मदायादा कम्म योनि कम्म बंधु कम्म पटि शरणा यं कम्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति। सभी प्राणी अपने कर्मों के स्वामी हैं, कर्म ही उनकी विरासत है, कर्म ही उनकी योनि है, कर्म ही उनका बंधु है, कर्म ही उनकी शरण है। जैसे भी कर्म करेंगे, कुशल अथवा अकुशल, वही उनकी विरासत बनेंगे। भवतु सब मंगलम, रक्षन्तु सब देवता, सब बुद्धानुभावेन, सदा सोत्थि भवन्तु ते। भवतु सब मंगलम, रक्षन्तु सब देवता, सब धम्मानुभावेन, सदा सोत्थि भवन्तु ते। भवतु सब मंगलम, रक्षन्तु सब देवता, सब संघानुभावेन, सदा सोत्थि भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा, बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो, धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो, संघं नमामि।
धन्यवाद, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।